Not Quite Cool is a podcast that contains spoilers, opinions, and general nonsense. Listener discretion is advised.
Got it.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, we are back again on our bullshit. Welcome back to another episode of Not Quite Cool. My name is Keith Brooks. With me, as always, is Mr. Chad Dowdy. Chad, how are you doing today?
I'm doing good, but we don't need to talk to me. You need to go straight to Rob because he looks like he's been living in a van down by the river.
I'm gonna take a screenshot and just attach this to the video and our Unabomber like co-host, a reminder that times can go from good to bad relatively quickly. Rob Prago, how are you doing, Rob? Are you doing okay?
It's almost February, which means it's almost been a year since I decided to take a break for a short period of time. I just didn't cut my hair or shave. And my break led into the writer's strike, which led into the actor's strike, which led into the holidays, which leads me to this. So there you go. This is about a year. Couple of shaves, but no haircut. And now I'm just on a mission. You know, at some point I was like,
God, it looks like a mission to
I am gonna until I am forced to cut my hair or shave. This is what you get, people.
Yeah, you look like you're going to give me a new decree of God's law, or you're going to burn down Harper's Ferry as an abolitionist.
With 2 tablets.
Yeah.
He's trying to get the sequel to Last Temptation of Christ. He's trying to...
The second to Last Temptation of Christ.
There'll be a fisherman or a homeless guy or a religious zealot.
Absolutely.
Something. We should report by God.
We should do the second Last Temptation of Christ and have it be like he didn't know if he wanted the wine or the spritzer like for dinner. Like it's a very, which one do I want? Very,
Which one am I tempted most by? That's tempting, but that's also tempting.
Oh, should I do the non-bread? I am on a diet. I don't know.
Everything's so tempting. It feels like it's my last temptation. There's so much pressure. For Christ's sake.
I mean, I'd cast you. You nailed it right there. Nailed it.
You nailed Jesus Christ. Good job.
Yeah.
So let's go ahead. As lightning strikes us down, let's go ahead and get into some of the movies and the television shows that we've watched. We got a lot of stuff here for you tonight. In addition to going over some movies and stuff like that, we're also going to tell you our top 5 films of 2023 at the end of this podcast. But let's go ahead and start thinking about some of those questions that movies ask us in television shows. And we'll start with one of the most prominent questions, and that is, what if? The MCU's animated TV series premiering on Disney Plus with an odd release strategy, one a day, I think for 9 days. Rob and I both watched the entirety of the series. Chad hates good entertainment and decided to only watch the first 7. So, Chad, what did you think about the first 7 for What If?
It's more of a protest of that weird release schedule that you're talking about. It makes no sense to me, so I'm just going to watch it when I get to them. So I've watched the first 7. I haven't seen the 1602 episode and, of course, the finale. My favorite out of all of them so far is the Die Hard Christmas episode because that was so freaking funny.
Yeah.
So well done. I was a big fan of that. These are just fun. They're obviously they're not technically a part of canon, but everything's a part of canon now.
Yeah.
With the multiverse and things like that. So it's just fun. I always liked the What If comics back in the day because anybody could die. So I really like that aspect of it. And so I'm having fun with this. And the rumor is that they're talking about doing a Star Wars What If as well. Bring it on.
And they've also started doing What If comics for other franchises. So an Alien What If franchise of comics just came out. So that's kind of crazy too.
Yep,
Yeah,
I saw that.
They can cross over the What Ifs, and you could have Star Wars What If crossover with Marvel What If. That's What If.
It'd be like, what if the Guardians of the Galaxy had to stop Darth Vader? That would be fucking phenomenal.
Because if you've ever seen, which I'm sure you have, because I've seen it, you've seen it, that Batman short where Batman fights Darth Vader.
Yeah.
It's phenomenal. That's phenomenal.
Yeah.
They need to do that. That's great.
Absolutely. Rob, speaking of phenomenal, what did you think about this phenomenal show? You're not phenomenal. Let me go ahead and clear that.
No, I'm not AJ Styles.
I was shocked over here. I was like, what?
Yeah. I enjoyed the shit out of it. I agree with Chad on a couple of things and not on one. Considering I've been on vacation clearly for about a year. I like waking up every morning and having a new gift. It was like more like Hanukkah. It was like the 7 days of Hanukkah. It was like every day a new what if toy. And I would get up and I'd make my cereal or my oatmeal or my Geritol, whatever I take. And I would watch What If. And I enjoyed I liked all of them. I enjoyed the first, there were 9, right? I enjoyed the first 7 more than the last 2.
Oh, so I can stop. Got it. Perfect.
Yeah, well, you might like the last 2 more though, because it's the last 2. I mean, no spoilers. Were more of a group dynamic, where the first 7 to me sort of had a little more of an individual focus on a character. For me, I did agree. I love that the Die Hard one with what's his name, Foggy from the original.
Yeah.
Foggy original Daredevil. You know what I'm talking about. And that was great. I enjoyed the shit out of it. It was a lot of fun. And again, I don't know. I can't tell you specifically why. Because I did like a couple of them from season 1, the one where Star-Lord, what's his name became Star-Lord, and that was great in season 1. I just like this season overall a little better. I can't exactly tell you why. It could just be a state of mind. It could be the drugs I'm on. I don't know.
You're on a lot of drugs, we can tell.
Yeah, a lot of Rogaine, clearly, and I enjoyed the shit out of it. I can't wait. I was thrilled to see that they had a little teaser, a very long teaser actually, at the end of episode 9 for season 3, which was great. It had a whole different feel to it, yet still very similar. So that was cool.
Keith, before you get into you talking about it, season 3, have they already animated that? Do we know where season 3 stands?
I think they're part of the way through the animation process.
I know it comes out this year, so they've got to be
well into it. Yeah.
So
gotcha.
Keith, you haven't seen that, so you haven't seen that teaser for 3. So okay.
I've seen the teaser for 3 with Bucky and Red Guardian. I think you meant Chad hadn't seen it.
You both look exactly alike to me.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, we are the only ones that look different than Wolfman Jack over here in the corner. I think. Tell Donna I said hi. Listen,
the Wolfman said. I enjoy
What If. I like it as a concept. I like it as a series. I like the first season a lot because it opens up a lot of different avenues for them to do things that they can't do with other Marvel properties, at least as far as film is concerned. I want them to go further with it. I really enjoyed season 2 a lot. The Kahori episode was absolutely fantastic. That's standalone, my favorite one. And I want them to go further. Give me what if, Tony Stark was Spider-Man. How does that work? Some weird shit like that. That really in the What If comics, that was one of the things that always brought you to them, was that sometimes it is a butterfly effect sort of change. What if one small thing was altered? And other times it's these massive changes that really affect the entire way you view, that world. And I do like the fact that, in season 2, the first, let's say, 6 or 7 episodes are standalone completely. And there is a culminating effect at the end of season 2, but it's not just for season 2. It's also culminating aspects of season 1. And I really like that. And you could definitely tell that Feige wants to incorporate some of these characters a little bit more into live action. They've already said that Kahori will be in live action within the next 5 years. Captain Carter, we've already seen one variation of that. I'm excited to see some more. I think it's a lot of fun. And to me, there's always that debate about whether or not Marvel has lost their place as the top dog when it comes to these franchises. But to me, they still wear the crown. But speaking of kings and wearing crowns, let's go on to the next show that Rob and I watch, an Apple TV Plus minus parentheses, whatever that logo is, show centered in the Monsterverse, and that is the true crown wearer, Monarch. So this was, I think, 8 episodes, 9 episodes. Of
was it 9 or 10? I lost track because I thought it was over at the end of 8. Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ. And so I got attacked by a dog. Relax, Tiger. It was either 9 or 10. But I thought it was over. It's funny. I thought it was over at 8. I was like, oh, pretty good ending. And then I was like, that wasn't even the ending.
yeah,
Then they gave us a season finale, which was pretty fucking cool.
pretty fucking phenomenal. Not only starring Kurt Russell, but also Wyatt Russell. The lead actress from this is also in the new FX series Shogun, and then of course fucking Godzilla. And a cameo by another fucking amazing monster. And we also see Iris West from the Snyderverse is in this show as well. Rob, what did you think about Monarch?
When it was good, which I'd say it was about 50-50 for me. When it was when it was really good, it was okay all the time. When it was at its best, it was my favorite. And I haven't seen Godzilla Minus One, so I hear how great that is. I haven't seen that yet. So, but when this show was at its best, it was some of my favorite Godzilla universe stuff in a long, long time. When it was at its weakest, it was okay. It was fine. But I haven't been that big of a fan of what they've been putting out over the past decade. As it was fine. It's literally fine. It hasn't been great. It's been fine. But some of these shows, how the character development, how they delved into just the background, and Kurt Russell and a couple of the other actors just did a really great job here. Really, really good job. And I just think it was up and down based upon the writing and but when it was good, I'd say 60% of the time it was really, really good. And if you're a fan of this, you'll dig it.
Sometimes I don't even know why I ask you questions. I don't even know like if this is community service.
I want to
Because
see if I can multitask, eat pistachios, pet a dog, and still answer a question somewhat.
Yeah, it's a cognitive challenge. You and Trump are who we're getting with this. I think like
bank you. You don't want to get debanked.
The fuck debank. What a weird ass. Anyway, that's a different podcast we're gonna have called Fuck the Orange Guy. Listen, I loved Monarch. I thought it was incredible from beginning to end because I'm a sane person and I recognize good material when I see it. Did you just show us your dick?
Again, it's this a callback to like season 1 of our podcast when he would constantly just move the screen to show his junk, just that random. It's like he said, check it out.
That's how I feel about your reviews, buddy.
But I dug the shit out of it. I do think, similar to Godzilla Minus One, which I'll talk about in a second, it did make a compelling story with people, and people are always my least favorite part of any Godzilla film. But in this one, I really dug how much they went into the nerdy bullshit of this MonsterVerse, and it was super fun. And it also I think it does more than maybe the MCU or Star Wars does about filling in timelines and sort of explaining to you the gaps of information about how this is a cognitive world and how it operates. And you had a good cameo set up at the end for Godzilla X Kong, the New Empire. The mother of Kintaro in this show was fucking incredible. In a show where Kurt Russell is pulling his weight and doing everything you want Kurt Russell to be, for you to still come out on top as the top performer of this entire show with maybe 2 episodes that you're in its entirety. This woman was fucking phenomenal. And it was also just incredible to see how John Goodman fits into the franchise. We sort of have a better understanding of where everybody is. So, I think if you're a MonsterVerse fan, this is definitely a must watch. I just found it compelling and fun, and they spared no expense on those special effects. That's the thing that impressed me the most. I think sometimes with the MCU shows, every now and then you're like, okay, well, that looks a little TV showy. That feels a little, the storytelling, whatever, but sometimes the special effects aren't necessarily there. I never felt that way with this Monarch show. Not a single time.
I only felt that way about 50% of the time, so it's okay.
Jesus.
So 50% of the time, those effects worked 100% of the time. Yeah.
So take the reviews you've heard and -1 of everything Rob said, okay? And that takes me to the next thing that I want to talk about, Godzilla Minus One. Now, I saw that. Chad's already seen the film. Rob hasn't seen it because he doesn't like good things. We talked about it a little bit in our Not Quite Darkness episode. But let me just reiterate. What a fucking phenomenal movie. Arguably the best Godzilla movie released since the original Godzilla. Like, it is just phenomenal to watch. And everything I said about Monarch captivated me by the discussions of the people and those characters, multiply that times 2 billion for Godzilla Minus One. The premise of this movie alone is a kamikaze pilot who couldn't go through with it and the guilt he's feeling. What a fucking place to start with a character. And then a giant dragon lizard shows up. Like, it's just amazing. And now it's getting a re-release, Godzilla Minus One Minus Color, which I'm super excited about. I can't recommend this film enough. It's absolutely just stunning to watch. Speaking about movies that left us stunned, the next thing we're going to talk about, all three of us have seen, and it is Rebel Moon. This is a Netflix original directed by Zack Snyder, our Lord and Savior, clearly. Chad, how did you feel about Rebel Moon? Part 1, A Child of Warfire, or whatever it's called.
I feel like that this podcast, Keith, you're going to be in a constant state of just shaking your head in disappointment at something I say, something Rob says, or something we both say.
That's why I have a crick in
going
my
to be
neck.
disappointed.
That's why I have problems now from this podcast.
So, I really like this movie.
God damn it. Are you serious? This is my Obi-Wan can blow me moment.
I mean, yeah, it's basically, the Seven Samurai Part 1 is what this is. It's, visuals are stunning, obviously, all the time. But it was all set up for a story we've seen 100 times. That is certainly true. But I like the way it looked, and I was into these characters. And yeah, I'm kind of jazzed and ready for part 2.
God, I'm so scared to even. Rob, please tell me you're the voice of reason.
I'm just disappointed it didn't get nominated for Best Picture, cinematography, certainly original screenplay.
It'll win for Best Cinematic Moment of all time, or whatever the fucking Justice League.
Yeah, the Snyderverse guys will vote for.
I fall right in the middle of both you guys. I was fine. It was great comfort, fine food, watching it at home on a nice TV set. It's my mic. Sorry, my thing came up. My default mic has changed. Okay. No, my. I enjoyed it. I knew it was exactly what I expected it to be from a Zack Snyder movie. So I think I was mentally prepared. I knew who was in it. I like a lot of those actors. I love the lead actress. I love her. I think she's great. It's the same problems that most Zack Snyder movies have. The character development. The best part of the Seven Samurais, Magnificent Seven, is getting to meet and really seeing the character that he's trying to recruit. He just fails tremendously in doing that here. I wanted to know so much more about these people that he was trying to recruit. It just felt clunky. That being said, I was entertained. It's fine. It's such a tried and true model of a storyline. I'm looking forward to part 2. I mean, this is going to sound ridiculous. It got a little the antagonist. I'm a big fan of the guy who played the antagonist in this one.
Yeah.
I thought it got a little too ridiculous at the end of the movie with what they did with him.
I agree with that.
If that makes sense. I know we go spoilers here. I just thought it was. That's really that's the first time I rolled my eyes in the movie. I was like, "What?" It would have been that much
unnecessary.
Yeah, it would have been that much more satisfying had they actually overcome him and then had to fight a bigger bad in part 2.
They do.
That's
that. I mean, that's.
But it would have been nice to have seen them sort of have a win, but it's a false win. Just the way they brought him back, I was like, "What?" It was such a.
But that's the thing is that they have to because the emperor is waiting, so you have to have this mechanized warrior that you can always repair to be the second hand of the emperor.
Do you have to though? I mean, you say you have to.
Well, that's what the Star Wars movies did, and we're just gonna copy and paste
This
what
is
they did.
nothing to do with Star Wars. Not one. I didn't even like.
This is wars in the
Star Wars.
not Star Wars.
I mean, it's closer to Star Trek, if anything.
Oh
Don't you
my
think?
god!
I mean,
You wash your dirty whore mouth out right now. I
It's
think
more like Starcade for you wrestling fans is what it is. It's
Well,
Yeah, there you
well,
go.
at least Sting would have showed up then, and Dusty Rhodes would have been entertaining. Look,
That's
this movie is copy and paste the film, but you like took away all of your citations and the actual themes of the essay. There are scenes, every fucking scene in this movie is directly from another movie and lifted without the understanding of what that did. Seven Samurai is one of the greatest films ever made. And one of the things that makes it so well or so incredible is the dynamic of how each of the samurai feed off of each other, what they each bring to the table, and how this one's a lunatic, how this one's the calm guy, how this one doesn't really know what he's doing. None of that's here. We're just making action figures. That's all we're doing. And we're delivering it with shitty dialogue, with stories that don't amount to anything. Oh, by the way, we have to wrestle a griffin, and you got lightsaber swords because that's fun to do. Fuck off every aspect of that. The actors.
If that Griffin sounded like Peter Griffin, that would have been awesome.
That would have been great. And my friend Frank Trigg gets killed by that Griffin, but that's fun. But I think the actors phenomenal. The actors are great. That's never been his issue. He does great job casting, and I like all the people in this film. But you could get Ian McKellen to read Serial, and he can only do so much, right? The box isn't going to give him a fucking Oscar automatically. And the same thing here. You have a shitty script. I think it's at times, I think it looks fine. At times, I think it looks great. At other times, it looks like PlayStation 1 graphics and is the ugliest piece of shit I've ever seen in my life. When they first come
Now, before I let you go on, he's comparing the Zack Snyder visuals and shitting on them, but he's pumping up the okay visuals of Monarch on Apple Plus. I just want you to know he's a little delusional. I think
I believed in that dragon and Monarch when they came to that city where they met the Squid people. It was all fucking polygons. That's all it was. It was squares. I actually saw where my cursor was supposed to go and click on it to find the rest of the adventure. Fuck this movie and all of you delusional supporters that allow this man to keep making films. That's what I say.
Question I have, Keith: are you going to watch part 2 when it comes out so that we can talk about it?
Yes, it was fine.
It's exactly the same as Dune Part 1 and Dune Part 2. No difference.
You shut.
Dune Part 1, it's still going on, isn't it? Have they even finished Dune Part 1?
Because it's so
Can't even
good.
Dune Part 1 was great, dude. I don't know how you out of your
Fucking
mind.
amazing.
I
So
mean,
good.
Great for a nap, I guess.
Oh my god. Why do I do this? Why do I this show gives me ulcers. Let's just so I can fume a little
I
bit.
forgot you didn't like Dune Part 1. I love Dune Part 1.
I love
It's-
Dune
it's-
Part
It
1.
was. I don't love it. I think Dune is fine, but I definitely feel like we're going to review Dune right now. Dune Part 1 is just like nothing happened whatsoever.
But it was so beautiful. Nothing.
It was a
Yeah.
beautiful setup. They just released it in on IMAX.
Yeah.
People have been watching it because it was a day and date when it came out, or was it was straight to
It was day and date. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's right.
it went to HBO Max or
And
whatever.
the sequel comes out, I guess, March or something like that.
Yes,
Dune.
Dune.
But
Thank you.
speaking of, just so I can fume, I'm gonna let Chad talk about some bullshit he watched that I didn't. I watched the show that this is based on, but he's watched the live action actual game show based on the game show that was mocking capitalism and murdering people. What the fuck is the matter with people? Let's do Running Man for real, guys. No, Squid Game.
I would watch that.
Yeah, well, that's basically politics. Squid Game, the challenge. Chad, tell me what you think about it.
Yeah, I like this. This was, it's going to sound funny. This is pretty close, about as close as they can be to the original show. when they get killed, in the original show, Rob, I don't know if you saw Squid Game at all, but it's a
So
game
the
show.
first 40 minutes of episode 1, then I turned it off. Yes.
So you didn't even get to the Squid Games. So you get killed in the Squid Games for real, trying to, last man standing, last person standing gets, whatever, $4.5 million or something like that. So it's a similar setup, but they all have like squibs or something on them. So when they lose the game, they pop the squib. So it looks like they are being shot, and they've been coached to like, fall over. So, things like that. It's kind of cool. They try to make it as much, and they emulate a lot of the similar games. There's some that they can't do directly from Squid Game, like the tug of war. They didn't do tug of war because if everybody knows that it's going to be tug of war, then obviously all the heavies are going to be on one side, and so they do change some of the stuff up, but they definitely emulate a lot of the original Squid Game. And yeah, it was fun. I dug it. I mean, it's just your basic reality show, but it's based on something that I've seen and enjoyed. So yeah, it worked for me.
You know what? I just correct myself. I did see the whole first episode because I did get to the red light, green light with the giant weird face and them killing. Yeah.
Yeah, they had this at the very beginning too. Red light, green light. They started it with red light, green light, and people took off running. And then if they moved, then their squib would go off.
That's cool.
Pretty cool.
I mean, I think sometimes basic and violent can be wonderful things to carry you through something. And that brings us to the next thing we're going to talk about, season 2 of a series that Rob and I watched. I don't know if he finished, but I'm diligent and do my job here on this show, so I did. And that is Reacher, starring, I don't know what the guy's name is, but he looks like Mount Rushmore.
Alan, what the fuck is his name? Alan Richardson, yeah.
Alan Richardson and Robert Patrick, and then the lady who, man, I just saw that she was in something really cool that I liked a lot. She's Proxima Midnight. I'm gonna look up what she is. Rob,
that's Carrie Coon. It's Proxima Midnight, I believe.
Ooh, and who is this lady? All right, Rob, you talk about Reacher season 2.
If the show is anything, it's cathartic. It allows you to really enjoy watching bad people get just absolutely pummeled without any fear of repercussion. The person doling out the punishment does not give two shits about any type of repercussions, feels justified in everything, and he pulls no punches, literally and figuratively. Yeah. There's a line in the show where the guy goes, you have to hit him that hard. He goes, I don't hit soft. And I was just like, yeah, everything. If he gave a stymie, it would be with the intent to kill. I mean, literally, that's how he hits. And it's fun. Great sound effects on his, everything is just a devastating punch, kick. And it's a shitload of fun.
Absolutely.
It's a lot of fun. I enjoyed season 1 a little more. I don't know why. I tend to like small town vengeance and sometimes better. I felt like Robert Patrick was walking through it a little bit. If I got to be honest, I felt like he was walking through it a little bit. I felt like they had him for a day in one location and he went through all his lines at that place and then he was off and doing his thing, which is possible.
I think that every time Robert Patrick gets a job, he gets really excited, and then he gets to the part of the script where they make a Terminator reference. He's like, "Fucking again, god damn it!" And then
it was a horrible delivery of that. He literally, I felt like he sabotaged the delivery of the Terminator reference.
Probably on purpose. I would be tired of it too. I mean, it's one of the greatest movies of all time, but still, and one of the greatest performances of all time in Terminator 2.
Reacher is one of the best movies of all time. Oh, I'm sorry, Terminator.
The lady I was trying to
What's the reference? What's the reference? How does it go? Is it too much to set up?
So, no, it's Reacher.
I can't remember exactly how it went. Yeah.
I was literally trying to say how it went. You schmuck.
I can't remember exactly how it went.
Reacher and his friend Neely.
Rob, what's the reference? What's the reference, Rob?
Does anybody know the reference? If you know the reference, put it in the comments below.
Reacher and Neely check into a hotel, and Reacher goes under some fake name. I don't remember what that was because it's not important. Oh, it's a pitcher from the Yankees. And then Neely, or whatever her name is, checks in under Sarah Connor. And then, so he's on the phone with Robert Patrick. He's like, checked under this and Sarah Connor. Who the fuck's Sarah Connor? And then Robert Patrick's like, who gives a fuck who Sarah Connor is? Blah, 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 that sort of thing.
Gotcha.
Yeah, he gave it way too much. Yeah, emphasis.
Yeah, too much. So the lady I was thinking about, Serinda Swan, I don't know how to say her name. A stunning actress. And I think she's a great actress. She is a part of the MCU. She is Medusa from the Inhumans television series, and by no
Ah,
means was the bad part of that show. She was phenomenal in that show. It's a shitty show, but she was great in it. And then she's also in the other ones. She's Zatanna Zatara in Smallville. Chad will know what that means. And she's also in Tron Legacy as like Siren number 2, but I definitely remember her in that movie. She was gorgeous. And she's also in Percy Jackson and the Olympians as Aphrodite. So she is in this show, and she's stunning in this show. And I think this show's a lot of fun. Again, it is, I don't know if the USA Network even still exists, but if it does, this is the type of show that they would make.
it feels like USA Network big time. Yeah.
Absolutely. Feels budget like that, all that stuff.
100%.
They make Canada is every city now. You know what I mean? Like Canada was Georgia last year, Canada's New York City this year. I'm sure it's going to be South Africa next season, whatever. But I have a lot of fun with it. I think the reason Rob didn't enjoy this season as much as the first season, because the first season was about Reacher kicking the shit out of rednecks. And this time it's like him kicking the shit out of military people. And I do think Rob gets a certain satisfaction from seeing like people of the reddish neck persuasion getting the shit beat out of him. Chad, watch the fuck out with that accent.
Definitely. He hates my family.
If I had a
He
dime
hates
for every time I
everyone.
beat the shit out of Chad, I mean, he knows.
Yeah,
Good Lord.
he would owe you 90 cents.
Yeah.
um,
Well
but
played.
I think the thing to me that makes this not add up as much as the first season is the second season he's using a lot of guns. The first season
Yeah, too much.
he was
Yeah.
baiting everybody. He was just picking them up and breaking the shit out of them. And I like that. I like, if you're gonna give me a man that's 95 feet tall, make him use his fucking hands to beat shit out of people. Like, don't give him a gun in addition to that. You know what I mean? I don't want to see Jaws and he also has lasers. Like, I just eat the motherfucker, right? So I enjoyed it. I think it's a fun watch. It can get sort of drowned out with all the other stuff that's going on and all the other movies and shows we're talking about. But that takes me to the next thing that we're going to talk about. Chad's already laughing at my wonderful transition. Speaking of being drowned, let's talk about Aquaman and the Lost Magical Kingdom, or whatever it's called. The sequel to the billion fucking dollar film and franchise, the last film of the DCEU. And Chad and I are the only two people in the world to have seen this film. So let's talk about this movie that has Jason Momoa, Yahya Abdul Mateen II, or whatever his name is, Patrick Wilson, Martin Short, Amber Heard, Nicole Kidman. If you would have told me 3 years ago that this movie was coming out, I'd be like, yeah, another $1 billion right fucking there. What's COVID? That's what I would have said. But now, whoa. Chad, what'd you think about Aquaman 2?
So this was definitely disappointing, especially because I'm a big fan of the first movie. I really like the first movie. I know it's campy. Some people don't like Momoa's Aquaman. I enjoyed the first Aquaman a lot. I had a great time with it. I had a lot of fun. But this was just a disappointment. And I feel like this had a lot of story issues. A lot. And I'm just speculating. I'm just wondering if it's because of the Amber Heard issue. And she's still in the movie, but they have to kind of write around her. And they have a baby in this. And it doesn't seem by any means, like hardly ever, that they're a family. It's like all this stuff has to be off screen because they, again, Rob, they are married, mother and father, they have a baby, and they're barely in a scene together, like all three of them. Like it never happens. And Momoa's off just doing stuff. You have no idea where the baby is or anything. And Amber Heard's like hurt or something. It's just weird. There's big time story issues with this. I'm always a big fan of like prior villains teaming up with the hero. So I like the Patrick Wilson, Jason Momoa. I like that idea of the two of them, teaming up to take on, Yaya. So I like that aspect of it. But this just had, it's just a disappointment. Like I said, just overall, I was just disappointed for sure.
To me, I do think the vast majority of this movie and the exposition happens within montages. You know what I mean? Like, all of the Amber Heard stuff is in montage. And it's not where I don't know if her part was significantly bigger beforehand, because even prior to the court cases and stuff like that, she would already had a negative there was already a negative response to her from the first movie. So I don't know. I also know that there were multiple versions of this movie that had different Batman in it. And watching the cut we have, I have no idea where you would fucking put him. Like, is he going to be swimming through the water and all of a sudden Ben Affleck's like, and then swims by? Like, I don't know where he would have been in this movie. Are you putting on lipstick? What are you doing?
I've got a date later. Shut up.
Yeah, sorry. Whatever. So
I forgot my video was on.
yeah, I that was that was more terrifying than any of the monsters in the film. Look, I was fine with it. I think the first one is campy as fuck, but I like the fact that both of these Aquaman movies take a lot from the pulp era of they feel like Silver Age, or like, yeah, silver meets gold a lot, and that's fun. The thing that bothers me the most, they should have killed the baby. They should have killed the baby. They should have chopped his fucking hand off. Why do you not do it? Why do you set it up to not do it? This is the last movie of the franchise, of this entire world. Go out with the big fucking bang. Do the fucking comics. But no, I think Yaya was great. I think.
Well, I'm gonna let you get back on. I haven't seen the movie. You know why they didn't do it? Because in the prior DC movie, they dropped 8 babies out of a fucking window, and the whole world lost their shit. And those babies didn't even look like real babies
at all. You still should have done it. You still should have.
They look like real babies.
Still should have fucking killed this baby, make the fucking topo octopus cry, then chop off Momoa's hand, put a fish hook in it, and then have him kill somebody. The end. DC over.
Rob, when you post this episode, don't do some stupid pun. Call this episode, "They should have killed the baby." Because that's clearly Keith's biggest problem with this movie.
I'm gonna write. It's called "They Should Have Killed the Baby." I'm right. The funniest episode we've done so far.
That's my look. Will I own it on DVD? Yeah, it was fine. It was fine. Just I just miss when, it seems like even in these franchises, everything has to be done by the committee of popular opinion, and I like.
Yeah, it's awful.
Yeah. And I like James Wan is a storyteller who's always been, he didn't give a shit what people were going to say about Malignant, because did you see Malignant? I don't even think he watched it all the way through. So, I want that filmmaker that has the balls to go with the story or go above, So, I don't know.
I was surprised. It actually financially didn't do. I mean, again, I'm not telling you. I don't know what the ultimate budget was and 900 reshoots they did, but the movie is done close to over 450 million worldwide, where it's doubled almost all the other movies, and even more so the last 3 or 4 that came out prior to it. So there was an audience for this movie, and they came out as much as they possibly could to support this thing because they were hoping it was something worth their shit.
Yeah.
So I was surprised that it did as well as it did.
Yeah, and I think there's so many things going against it. I think Warner Brothers, I think Zaslav is driving Warner Brothers into the fucking ground with every decision he makes.
He's just prepping it to sell. He literally is just prepping it to sell and trying to get rid of tax liabilities.
Yep, and that is not the state you want to be in when you're trying to make artistic endeavors. I completely understand. It has to be business. It has to be fiscal as well. But you're not going to get that fiscal return unless you advertise the shit. And so, the strikes were over. So you have no fucking excuse. You know what I mean? I don't know. I'm wrestling with a lot of the emotions I feel for it. And that takes me into the next thing I want to talk about, another film by everybody's favorite studio. That's right, A24. We're talking about the not quite Oscar baby or darling of this year, but an amazing Texas tornado of a time, and that is the Iron Claw. Chad and I watched this movie. Rob refuses to because he hates wrestling. Chad, how do you feel about the Iron Claw?
I'm shocked that Rob has not seen this movie yet.
I'm stunned. I haven't seen this movie yet either.
Especially the guy that made a Starcade reference a minute ago.
I feel like when we reviewed this trailer on the podcast, Rob's response was
Day one.
Day one.
Day one.
Day one for me.
Day one.
I'm there day one. I've already got my ticket. Like, that was what he said.
Yeah.
But he still hasn't seen it.
People still call me day one. All the people who watch this video, they were, hey, you're day one, right? I was like, yeah, I'm day one. That's who I am.
I was a big fan of this movie. It was awesome seeing a lot of this, history brought to life, even if it's not quite exactly, the way it happened and things like that. But that's artistic license. That's fine. A lot of that stuff is like that. It didn't bother me. There's some really good performances in this, but the one that stood out to me the most was Holt McCallum as Fritz, the dad. He was awesome. I would nominate him. Like, he was that good. He was so good in this movie. A big fan of him. And I was just a big fan of like their whole dynamic with him and his sons. I mean, again, that's what the movie's largely about, but that worked for me a lot. One of the quibbles I have, though, is that Jeremy Allen White, while he's a great actor and he was buffed up for this movie, he's just not quite big enough. And I don't mean muscular. I mean like tall enough. Yeah. He's not Carrie Von Erich is Carrie Von Erich.
Yeah.
And I was not getting Carrie Von Erich vibes from him when he's standing next to his brothers and he's like a foot shorter than all of them. So again, I get it. He's a great actor. He looked physically awesome. Just a little short. I wish they would have maybe kind of played with that a little bit somehow, with movie magic. But other than that, big fan of this film.
I think he did a great job with the physicality of the performance. I think so many of them, all the acting in this movie is phenomenal. I didn't know that the dad, the guy who plays him, also from Mindhunter, was also in fucking Creepshow, and is the Native American kid in the one about the statue. I had no idea that's who that was. Which is
I didn't know that either.
Thing to me. Anyway, so that being said, I think this movie's phenomenal. They omit one of the kids, which again would add all this tragedy to it as well. And the thing that shocked me was, growing up watching wrestling, if you're a wrestling fan, you know this story. And so there are certain moments of the actual dynamics, and I won't spoil it because I don't want to spoil it for Rob, but there's certain moments of this that sort of live in your head rent free of what happened after the accident, of blah, 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 blah. And they didn't show any of those. And part of me was sort of shocked. And then part of me was like, well, that's a very tasteful way of doing this. They're not actually showing you the most gruesome aspects of what this family went through. But part of me was also thinking that's kind of also the point of this, of what you should be doing, is to talk about how bad it really was. And specifically with Carrie's story, I think that's, but at the same time, as a storyteller, I understand if you make Carrie get in the ring immediately after, no one will ever have sympathy for that father figure again, right? And so stuff like that. I think Zac Efron is phenomenal in the movie. He does something very similar to Leonardo DiCaprio of playing a character that is below, I think, his normal intelligence. And that's not an insult for the Von Erich family. I just think that's how he presents that character. And I think he does a great job at it. I felt he was the weakest out of all of them in the actual ring. But I love the scene where he's trying to cut that promo and keeps fucking it up. That was one of my favorite scenes. The Harley Race guy was incredible as Harley Race.
He was dope.
Yeah, he was amazing. And it is All My Sons set in Texas. That's what this movie is. And I enjoyed that element. There are places where I wish it would have pushed it more, but I also respect what they did. A lot of people are having difficulties with one scene that takes some creative license about how the brothers picture things in the afterlife and stuff like that. I thought that was beautiful. I think that encompasses what this movie is. A tasteful sort of love letter of these brothers and the iron claw of pressure that an overbearing father puts them through. You know what I mean? I think if you're a wrestling fan, you should have seen this day one. And if you're not,
Or you're not.
or you're not a wrestling fan, one of those.
Clearly.
Clearly. So, but instead of watching the Iron Claw like he said he was going to, he decided he was going to sit at home and watch some True Detective season 4, but only the first 3 episodes. So Rob,
Oh, there's only 3 episodes out.
yeah, any excuse you could come up with, that's fine.
Yeah. Please, Rob.
I swear there's only one property.
You wouldn't have made it as a Von Erich, that's for fucking certain. Listen, so Rob watched the first 3 episodes of True Detective Night Country, I think's the name of it, with Jodie Foster. How is it? What do you think?
Good. I mean, I'm a fan. Like people, the first season is legendary and iconic, and people speak of it with a reverence, almost unparalleled outside of The Sopranos and some other shows. Season 2, people ragged on. I loved season 2. Season 2 had incredible energy. It was visceral. People said Vince Vaughn was miscast, and they were right, but it was still good. It was Colin Farrell is always great. It's great. Season 3 was a little more ethereal, a little more. It was. I had a little tougher time with season 3. It was. I don't know. It was.
Aren't you in season 3?
I shot on season 3 and I ruined it.
He's like, I don't understand the ending at all.
Yeah, and I had this.
They didn't even solve the mystery. She's a terrible detective.
Weird, man. Anyway, season 4 is leaning into this interesting supernatural bent. Now, it's not a supernatural show. It's a detective show that's based in science, and it's based in groundedness. So it's really cool how they're using science and just things about the world to sort of create these things that are happening in Alaska right now when it's nighttime, when it's dark for a long period of time, and what people experience and what's going on with certain things up there to create what feels very creepy and almost it's supernatural in the way they're playing it. Now, what's cool is it's not going to be supernatural. What's kind of cool to me is watching this going, what is it then if it's not supernatural, and how are they going to figure it out? So you feel very akin to these detectives who are like, look, there's an answer to what's going on here. We're not asking the right questions, and that seems to be the theme. But it's taking you on an interesting trail. Jodie Foster is always great. Nick Pizzolatto, the original creator and writer, he's executive producing it, but he turned over the writing and the show writing and directing to, I believe her name is, I got it written down, Isa Lopez. And it's really good. It's beautifully shot. I mean, it's again incredibly well cast. I think it's got me. I'm digging it. And you guys should watch the first 3 episodes, which are now on Max.
Well, I was talking to a guy about it, a buddy of mine, and he said that if you kind of just like let your mind wander just a little bit about this, then you can imagine this being Clarice Starling. Just later on in life,
Yep.
This is where she is, and this is what she's doing.
I
And
thought
that's
that-
the lens
that
that
crossed my
he's
mind.
watching it through.
That crossed my mind a couple of times while watching it. Yeah.
I would probably picture her instead do it through like a different lens, and she's the girl from the original Freaky Friday. Like now grown up, just different Jodie Foster characters that she is. That'd be pretty fucking dope. Yeah, it sounds awesome. Look, I think the idea of a supernatural detective. Oh, that sounds like really cool. Like it could be a great podcast set in the 1930s, available from Media Productions. But also, like, that whole area of the world is fucking terrifying. They call it the Alaskan Triangle, and because such odd things happen, and it's something like, I'm gonna say this is statistic wrong, but it's something like 16,000 people go missing from that area every year or something like that. It's a fucking insane number. That what I said was probably wrong, but it's somewhere in that ballpark. I don't know. And whether it's supernatural or they just decide to leave the world behind, who knows? But that takes me to the next thing I want to talk about, a Netflix film produced by President Barack Obama, starring Mahershala Ali, Ethan Hawke, Julia Roberts. That is, of course, Leave the World Behind. What a fucking weird ass film. Chad also saw this film. Chad, what did you think about Leave the World Behind?
I enjoyed this one. It is weird. In the beginning, there's some weird camera zooms that I was like, oh, this is kind of weird. It's really throwing me off. And I wonder if that, like, I didn't really notice it later on in the film. So I was wondering if it was like intentional to kind of throw you off the beginning, because again, that's the whole thing. Everyone's thrown off in
Yeah.
this movie because the world has totally changed and things like that. But it was super cool. It was very tense, great performances. And it seemed, especially when you consider that Barack Obama produced it, seemed pretty realistic
Yeah.
that if something like this would happen, this might be the way it would go.
Absolutely. And I found it to be terrifying because it is a disaster film, but it's played so realistically throughout the entire thing. And the special effects, again, Mahershala Ali running from that airplane, that was fucking horrifying, right? That was a terrifying view. But I think a dog is hacking into Rob's computer or eating his pistachios. One of the two of those things is happening. I just see a dog like, how do you spell Chewy? CHEW. Ordering all the stuff through his credit card. Rob has walked away, and so his dogs are taking over his
He's
computer.
left the podcast behind.
Yeah, I have to say, much better co-hosts. Like, oh fuck. The monster from the Creep Show is back. Fuck. So anyway, Leave the World Behind. I think what the camera did in this film was so free. So many beautiful camera movements, such wonderful direction, such interesting characters. It was almost in my top 5 of the year. We're going to talk about that momentarily, but this is one of my favorite things. It just haunts me still. Such a wonderful commercial for the television show Friends. Such a wonderful commercial for that. I dug the fuck out of it. It was a nice little
Terrifying.
Yeah, it was a nice little holiday surprise. But speaking of holiday surprises and gifts, there's a couple of holiday releases that we watched, and the first one is a true Christmas holiday classic that we're all going to be watching annually to celebrate, and that is HBO Max's Merry Little Batman. Or was it on Amazon? I don't remember what to watch. I would say
I think it's Amazon, actually. Yeah.
I think
Which
it is
was
Amazon.
weird.
I think it should have been HBO Max, but again, Zaz loves an idiot. But still, send me the checks you owe me for my royalties, whatever. Merry Little Batman is a new animated film starring Luke Wilson as Batman, featuring Poison Ivy, Bane, the Joker, Catwoman. Well, I guess Catwoman doesn't show up. The Penguin, and of course, a very different take on Damian Wayne and James Cromwell as Alfred. Chad, what'd you think about Merry Little Batman?
Yeah, this was cute enough for what it was trying to do. You know, it's kind of like the first half is like Damien meets Home Alone.
Yeah.
You know, so it's kind of, I like that as an idea jumping off point. But you know, again, it's like weird animation. It's fine. It's trying to be weird. It's goofy hijinks. But like I said, it worked for what it was trying to do. It is not something that's like, oh my gosh, this was incredible. Although you're going to probably disagree.
Mm-hmm.
It was utterly fine. It was a fine holiday. You could do worse, you know, watching a holiday thing. If you like, you know, comics, yeah, check it out.
But I think Rob would enjoy it because it does have some Christmas music in the background. But
Does
you
it?
know, yeah, and it definitely leans into the Burton-esque sort of tones of things. But it seems like it's also based on and perhaps done by. I should have done research for this, but I'm ill prepared. There's a bunch of these heavy metal Batman animated shorts on YouTube of Batman just rocking it out to heavy metal music, and it all seems within that style. And you know, I think it was cute as fuck. I know the purists are going to hate it just because this is not who Damian Wayne is by any stretch of the imagination.
Right.
But I thought it was a lot of fun. Like I dug the fuck out of this, and I thought Luke Wilson was a perfect Batman for what they were trying to do. I enjoyed seeing an older rogues gallery. You know, Penguin in his scooter chair from Walmart was great. The Joker was weird. Poison Ivy all like gilfed up. That was fun. I had a good time with it. It was a fun little watch, and it was creative. And I like to follow creators that can do fun things. And that takes me to something that Rob and I both watched. And it is a film by what the fuck is his name? Gareth Evans, I think is his name.
Creator.
Yeah, the guy who did. Way to spoil it for me. The
Sorry.
guy who did Rogue One, and Godzilla, and Monsters brings us the creator.
I was playing a game show. Big Creator. Sorry.
So go ahead, mad scientist who stuck a fork in an electric socket, Rob Prago. What did you think of the creator?
No bullshit. I fucking love this movie.
Yeah.
I fucking loved this movie. I thought it's an interesting. Again, it's how many AI fucking movies have we seen over the years? There was just a beautifully haunting pace about this thing. The lead actors are great. The little girl, somebody was a little girl. The kid might be one of the best child performances
Ever.
Yeah. I mean, it felt strangely grounded in this not too distant future where the effects looked spectacular. I just heard some mixed reviews about it. People really pissing and moaning. I just thought it was stunning, and I thought everybody in it was great. I dug this movie. I don't know how a sci-fi fan, I'm just a fan of good movies, things shot, money used well, good acting, doesn't dig this, but I guess, I thought it was great. Anyway, what do you think?
Yeah, same here. Like, I think, Gemma Chan, I absolutely adore. Ken Watanabe is one of my favorite actors. I've loved everything.
How does he not work? That's got to be by choice at this point.
Well, he took a long time off because he has struggled with cancer for a long time. So he had a couple of brain tumors and stuff like that. So that was, I think, prior to Last Samurai. And I think he's had some remissions a couple of times. But I think knock on table, he's doing well. But again, just if you ever look into Ken Watanabe, a humanitarian, an artist in every capacity, just an incredible human. And John David Washington. Jesus, is he becoming one of my favorite actors?
Yeah, it really is. Yeah.
Yeah, I think after I watched this, I called you, unfortunately. Ugh. But it was because terrible. But it was I wound up every time I called Rob, I wind up losing food somehow. He's not even in my house, but just shit vanishes from my fridge. It's weird. But
away.
Imagine having, inarguably, one of the greatest actors of all time as your father, and then you want to carry on in that same line of work, but within a few short years, figure out a way to carve your own lane that is not trying to emulate anything your father did by any stretch of the imagination. Being able to walk within artistic films and the sci-fi huge, not necessarily tentpole movies, but from master creators. What a fucking great job. And there's never a moment where I don't buy him as a hero. He I hearken it to Bruce Willis's performance in 12 Monkeys, which I think is one of the greatest sci-fi performances of all time as the sci-fi hero. This is right up there. The visual effects are fantastic. I know for years there's been all this, Rogue One wasn't really his movie, blah, blah, blah. I think this is him saying, oh yeah, you think I couldn't do that? This is what I did for half the budget. You know what I mean? And I think it's phenomenal. I love every bit of it. It brings me joy.
Well, the rumor is, he might be the new Kang. Have you guys heard that?
Yeah.
Gareth Evans? That's weird.
Yeah.
It's an odd choice, definitely. But if what Feige wants, I'll go with it. No, yeah. I kept seeing the rumor that it was going to be Coleman Domingo, who I think is
that's what I've heard. I've heard Coleman Domingo, actually, yeah.
But then, in the past 4 days, I've seen Coleman Domingo attached to 19 different projects, confirmed through Variety. So I'm like, well, he just got busy.
I wouldn't sweat John David Washington as Kang, too.
That's great.
When you were saying you heard a rumor, I can't remember what the rumor was, but Gareth Evans' name was brought up as directing a up and coming Marvel movie too.
Oh shit, that'd be
Kang Dynasty.
Could be
cool.
him and John Day Washington reteam.
I'd watch it. I would watch the shit out of that.
You're gonna watch it no matter who directs it and who's in it. If it's a Marvel movie,
absolutely, I'm a sucker for this stuff.
I got to think too what he delivered for the budget with the effects and with the acting. That Marvel's got to be going. Fuck yeah! Are you kidding me?
him and Godzilla Minus One guys, bring them the fuck over.
Definitely the Godzilla Minus One guy.
Let's
Did
do
you see
this.
the video of there was a montage video of people seeing their themselves being nominated, and the team from the special effects team from Godzilla Minus One. It was unbelievable to watch them. It was like nighttime where they were. It was like
And they were just cheering.
Godzilla. It's like they screamed so loud. It's like they saw Godzilla. It was pretty impressive.
Yeah, I think it's absolutely.
I gave up halfway through that one. Anyway.
Yeah, no, you could tell. But I think one of my favorite videos of that, and that takes me to my next thing. While we just ignore everything Rob just did, was Danielle Brooks finding out she was nominated for this next film that I want to talk about, The Color Purple. So The Color Purple, based on the original book, and then from the Steven Spielberg classic film, is a musical starring, oh my God, who does it not star? So we have Danielle Brooks nominated for an Oscar, Fantasia, who should have been nominated for an Oscar. We have the new Little Mermaid. We have Sierra. We have Coleman Domingo. We have Dr. Dre from Straight Outta Compton. The cast is fucking littered and incredible. Whoopi Goldberg shows up in there as a little cameo. It's amazing. And I can't speak highly enough about this film, and I feel there's not enough conversation being had about it. It is so joyous to watch, and that's so odd given the fact that the circumstances of this story are fucking miserable. The Color Purple is the most depressing fucking story you've ever heard. It's abuse, it's sexual abuse, it's incest, it's all this shit, and they're singing about it, and I think it's wonderful every fucking song they do. Taraji P. Henson, David Allen Greer, again, some amazing performances. If you get a chance to watch Color Purple, let me echo what I said before. It is well worth it. And that takes me to the last show that we want to talk about, and that is the MCU's latest show, Echo. Released again with a surprising strategy. A lot of people were thinking that this was Marvel dumping the show because they wanted to forget about it. And I couldn't be more contradictory of that thought if I tried, because I feel they're just experimenting with things. There are a couple that's in their 30s that have been together for a long time. They're just seeing how to do a couple different things, right?
Think about this.
Yeah. And so we all three watched Echo. Unfortunately, Rob came over and watched it at my house, so I lost a lot more food. Chad, what did you think about the television series Echo?
I'm sorry, Keith. This was totally fine. It was just fine. Now, representation matters, and it was really good to see because this is what this movie, this is what this show was. Definitely representation. You know, she is great. She is awesome. And other people are good in the role too, but she is so good in this role. And I do like the changes they made to the character in reference to why she's called Echo as opposed to the comics. So, I know they changed her origin and things like that. That's fine. It worked for me just fine. It was a good story. Kingpin is awesome. I know that's, your thing, Keith, D'Onofrio, but Kingpin, he's super cool. Ultimately, I just feel like that depends on where you are on the MCU spectrum, but you could skip this show and be fine. It was fine. I enjoyed it just fine.
So Chad hates representation. Moving along to the guy who almost did a terrible impression that almost got the show canceled. Rob, what did you think about Echo?
I agree with Chad that, and I think I agree with you too. She's great in this role. And not dissimilar to Milan Vellani. I just forgot her name. Miss Marvel.
Iman Vellani.
Iman Vellani. Where it's both of them, it's their first acting roles.
Yeah.
None of them had ever acted before. And I think they both are doing an equally great job. I think Iman Vellani just gets because it's more bubbly and fun, and I just think it captured more of the zeitgeist than this character did. But I think the difference is just how it's written, and it's just different characters. But they're both great. I think this show had a great trailer, fucking great trailer, and I wanted that trailer, and I got bits and pieces of that in episode one. In episode one, there was a freaking great fight scene.
Yeah,
there really was. That was very reminiscent of Netflix Daredevil, Punisher, and stuff. And then it just goes off the. It just became something I had no interest in. Leaving the big city, leaving where all the shit was happening, and going to hide in Oklahoma and blah blah blah. It was just, I loved everybody in it. Look, I love that cast. I love everybody in it. The story just took a left turn and went. A lot of the storylines didn't make a whole lot of sense to me. It's like Chad said, yes, it's, if you miss this, I don't think you're going to skip a beat, whatever comes next when Kingpin is mayor of New York. I don't think, what do you need to see? To me, the best things about it were the first episode and then the post-credit scene at the end of the final episode. So you're like, okay, that was a lot of fun. I wanted so much more. It was fine. Again, I'm enjoying them experimenting with the different release strategies. Yeah. I loved What If every day. That was a lot of fun. It was kind of a nice whole holiday feel. I'm glad they dropped this. I thought I was going to be sitting there, pizza, wings, going nuts, blah, 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 and
you literally were. I bought pizza and wings.
But I thought I was going to be more excited. I was excited about the food. I thought I was going to be more excited about what was on TV. I mean, the food became the best part of it. And I was like, take off the food. Oh. We can watch anything. But the food, it was, that pizza was good. What was that? That was Marco's Pizza?
Marco's Pizza, yeah.
Marco's made a pepperoni pizza, extra crispy. That was goddamn good. By God. And they drop that every day too, all day long. It's, you get that shit. Echo is in. I can't. Again, I want to see her in a better show, in a better project. That's all I'm saying.
To me, too, this is probably not the last, but one of the last vestiges of Disney Plus's non-showrunner programming, right?
Yes. Thank God.
Yeah, and I think from here on out, it's going to change the way these are presented. There may be one or two more stragglers. I think Agatha, Ironheart, whatever comes with that, all of that stuff. But Daredevil, we know, has a showrunner. Yep. I think Marvel, whether you like the movies or not, apart from one person being a not great human, the casting is always impeccable.
Yeah.
Like, they've done such a good job, especially within these past few phases, of finding these young actors and actresses that are just incredible in what they do. I think from Kamala to Maya to America Chavez, like, they're all fucking phenomenal actresses that are really carrying the mantle of these characters. And I do think the idea of representation is such a huge, important, significant way to go forward and to be able to create new things. I like the idea that somebody like the MCU can be almost a network unto itself. Hey, you don't like this field? That's fine. Go check out Loki. Hey, you don't like Loki? That's fine. Go check out this. Go check out this. And they all feel drastically different. And part of the way you do that is you surround your show's identity with the identity of your characters. And talk about Alaqua Cox being not only Native, an indigenous woman that is deaf, that is an amputee, that's making people watch a superhero show that the vast majority of is in a different language than the language they speak, right? So that's 2 times in this year alone that Marvel's done that. Once with What If, now with Echo, with ASL. Absolutely fucking incredible. And I think most of those actors going into this not knowing ASL have incredible performances all the way throughout it. Especially the grandfather, the grandmother, loved all of that stuff. I think I like the show more than both of you because, again, I have a heart and good taste. But I agree with Chad. I like the idea of the switch up of the character because, like, if you look at the skill sets that we have within the Marvel Cinematic Universe, her power set was the same as Taskmaster's, and we already have a Taskmaster, so we don't need to copy that. The same way we don't need Miss Marvel to do what Reed Richards does. We need something different, so everybody feels different. And if this was a Dungeons and Dragons party, something Rob and I know way too much about now,
Unbelievable.
we need a fucking healer. We need a cleric. We need somebody that's going to come in there and make people feel better, all that sort of stuff. So I dig that. I dig the power change. I wasn't super sold on her final costume. I would have liked that to be a little more comic accurate. I would have liked the handprint across the face. I would have liked
Definitely
that.
the handprint.
Yeah. But I love her performance all the way throughout. My boy Vincent D'Onofrio was incredible. That hammer scene was incredible. The scene where the grandmother tells her everything in the kitchen was one of my favorite acted scenes I've seen. There was a part when I was watching this show and it came out on my father's birthday. I had a complicated relationship with my father, much like Rob's relationship with Star Wars. And my father's been passed away maybe 5 years ago. And so I'm watching the show, trying not to listen to the garbage disposal beside me, chewing on the bones of wings and shit like that, like a monster.
Them's good bones.
Yeah. And they're talking about how we are not confined by the things that came before us. And I'm fucking tearing up. And then I just hear beside me, they should have put Daredevil in this a little bit more, don't you think? Oi. And I'm like, oh, fuck. So, yeah, I love that. And Daredevil. Yeah. Charlie Cox in it was incredible. I really dug his part in that first episode. I loved the show. Is it my favorite? No. Loki season 2 came out this year. Obviously, that is a pinnacle of television. But I enjoyed the fuck out of Echo, and I cannot wait to see what she does in the rest of the cinematic universe.
You know what was very cool? And again, maybe this exists now because it doesn't seem that far out of the realm, but the glasses that D'Onofrio gave her so he can just speak and she can see the sign language. I was like, that's got to be a real thing. There's no way that doesn't exist.
But also, like, what an interesting like character thing too of this guy who didn't care enough to learn how to, and instead
that's what the best part of it is, honestly.
You look at the negative. I think it's what they went through to invent something.
But that's good storytelling. And I also love the fact that like every episode begins with this other ancient woman that's related to her and we're all connected. It's great. Loved it.
But if you also look at, again, talking about the people that love her, everybody in her family all can sign. All of them can. And then D'Onofrio, her father figure, can't.
Yeah.
It was great.
And it's also
his fingers hurt from punching people. He's got arthritis. He can't do anything with
what's
his
weird
hands.
though is that's a very conscious decision too, because in Hawkeye, he signs to her. Like you see him sign. And so now they're taking that away. In the comics, he raised her ever since she was a kid. They've obviously changed that to be an adult. But in the comics, he's an asshole, but he's still like her father figure and is the guy who taught her how to sign. And so I just think it's a really smart decision to develop who that character is. I think it's brilliant. I think that the whole series is filled with those like really good character nuggets about who these people are, especially taking Vincent D'Onofrio back to that room, making him watch the wall. And his performance there, Jesus Christ. Like, talk about an Oscar snub. I know he couldn't get an Oscar for his TV show, but you still get the idea. So good. So good. Shit. Yeah. But speaking of good shit, that was a terrible segue. We're going to talk about the good shit that we saw last year. These are going to be our favorite films of 2023. Now, if you're interested in specifically mine and Chad's horror picks of the year, go check out our most previous episode of Not Quite Darkness, An American Werewolf in London, brackets 1981, where we talk about the hair-raising, howling, wonderful good movie, An American Werewolf in London, and also tell you our top 5 horror films. But now we're going to do our top 5 films all together. And I understand Chad has an honorable mention. Rob, go ahead and think of an honorable mention as well, and I'll think of one too.
Got it.
Chad, what do you got for your honorable mention?
Yeah, because these are our top 5 films, but my honorable mention is The Last of Us. It's not a film. It came out in January of 2023. Just an incredible series. Yeah, I just wanted to highlight it. Pedro Pascal, Bella Ramsey, they're awesome. Not to mention some of these other special episodes, like the Nick Offerman one.
Yeah,
great series. And ultimately, I'm just really looking forward to season 2.
Yeah, great. Rob, what about you?
The casting for that, they just announced what's her name? Caitlin Dever is
Yeah.
coming in.
And Maggie played the game, so she is she gives that a thumbs up for
Awesome.
sure. That
I
casting
mean, that
for
girl,
that character.
that chick is the Meryl Streep of her generation at this point. She's awesome. She's fucking great. That's something else.
Rob, what do you got?
My honorable mention is a movie, because I know what movies are. And Keith is gonna be shocked, so will Chad, because it's actually it's actually of an ilk that I've never had any interest in the past. It's about characters that have been movies and stories have been made about them for a long time. And Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles was fucking
Awesome. Wow.
It's amazing. Yeah. Fuck yeah. That makes me happy.
I mean, I was like, I loved every second, the dialogue, the casting, the voice work, the artwork. I was literally annoyed that it was not nominated for Best Animated Picture this year.
Yeah, me too.
I mean, so that's and I've seen this year. I've seen so few movies compared to other years of my life. I mean, for some reason, I feel like I saw more movies during like the pandemic than I saw this year. For whatever reason, I wasn't at the theaters a whole lot, and maybe I just wasn't. I found myself watching more series this year than anything. I've missed a lot of movies. So, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles is my hell. It could have been on my top 5 after I thought about it. I was like, man, I don't want to fuck with the top 5, but
yeah, that's great. That's great. My honorable mention, it's a tie. So it's 2 things. One, a television series, one, a video game. The television series is Loki, season 2. Look, that ending, that final image of him pulling all the branches together and sitting on the throne. Talk about payoff for a character. It is one of the most beautiful images I've ever seen, especially within 30-something movies and how many TV shows, and you get something that feels so poignant and so specific to a character. I can't praise it enough. And then the second thing, video game, is also Marvel related. Spider-Man 2 by Insomniac with Tony Todd as Venom. God, what a storytelling achievement. I'm still chasing the high. I keep playing video games over and over again, and I don't even fucking like video games that much, other than the stupid ass Mario games like Cement Factory, which I'm editing this video for 4 months now, whatever. But I just feel like Tony Todd and all the crew that put together this compelling Spider-Man story, I just can't wait for another one. It was so fun. It was so enjoyable. So,
well, I will say the people are waiting for your Mario video to drop.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
You act like this podcast takes forever to come out. That Mario video, come on, kid.
It's been a long time. God damn. Anyway, so now we're going to jump right into our top 5. Look, I agree with Rob. I haven't seen a lot of movies this year. Normally, I've seen all of the Oscar contenders, and I'm only now getting through some of the screeners and everything sent out. So, my movies again are the things that I just enjoyed, the things that made me happy. And Chad's are the ones that turned him on erotically. So Chad, go ahead. What's your number 5?
Well, now you're making me want to change my number 5 to Saltburn, talking about what turns me on erotically, but it's not Saltburn. I did enjoy Saltburn as far as that.
It looks like
goes.
someone walked in the room when you said
yeah, they're like, Saltburn, tell me all about it.
You're not the man I knew.
Exactly. No, my number 5.
You fucking weirdo.
My number 5 is the Iron Claw. So, again, the performances are great. Admittedly, this is my number 5 because of the nostalgia factor. I'm a huge fan of wrestling. I really like the wrestling elements, the whole storyline. I like how I didn't mention this when I reviewed it earlier in the podcast, but I really like the conversation that Zac Efron had with his wife or wife to be about being the world champion. Wasn't it like, he's like, well, it's not just, you have to be really good at this and really good at this. And then they might give you a shot to be, the world champion. So I really like how they explained it, how you become world champion. And it's not just obviously because it's fake. It's not just the best fighter. So Iron Claw, number 5, big fan of that film.
Quick
Right.
question. Comes out. I'm going to see it day one when it comes out. I haven't seen it yet. Did Kevin ever win? I know Kerry won the title, but did Kevin ever win the NWA title at all? I don't remember.
In the movie, no.
Okay. I don't think he did. I don't think he did in real either. I know Kerry did though.
Yeah, he was always, I'm younger than Rob. Keith, you're definitely younger than Rob. So Kevin was definitely, even then, he was so uncharismatic to me.
Yeah.
That he's hard to remember, like, what he even did. Definitely was Carrie, he's the David, but Kevin was just blah. So yeah, I don't even remember if he did, but I don't remember like too much about him.
I don't think he did because of that. He wasn't really, wasn't very electric, actually. He was great in the ring. He just,
And they touch on that a little bit in the movie, of course, like you were talking about, Keith, with the promo skills and things like that.
Yeah. Rob, that silence means it's your turn to list your.
I'm ready. Can we edit that in post so it looks like I'm paying attention? Yeah. I don't have. This is not in any particular order. I mentioned this one earlier.
Do you not understand how top five?
Top five. These are 5 good movies that I've enjoyed. All right. All right, fine. I'll put
love that. That's great. These are in no particular order. And some of them are from 2019. I got a couple from 2017 in here.
The Flintstones starring John Goodman was phenomenal. I'll say my number 5 is Barbie. I thought Barbie was shockingly better than I thought.
Amazing. Yeah.
I mean, I like a lot of people. Again, you start seeing the trailers. I'm like, I mean, it was. I think a lot of us have watched as they've cast and recast, and you've heard about it. They're going to make a Barbie movie in different directions. Like, what the fuck is this going to be? And then all of a sudden, it's Greta Gerwig and it's Margot Robbie, and these are people these are artists who pick good projects and they take their craft seriously and they're interesting points of view. And damn, if they didn't fucking do what an entertaining, intelligent, thought-provoking movie. And I thought it was great. And before I saw it, a lot of people were raving about Ryan Gosling's performance, and he was great. But man, watch Margot Robbie in this movie and the emotional roller coaster and wreck that she is. And I don't think she gets enough credit. I think the reason she didn't get an Academy Award nomination was it was Barbie. And I think this performance in any other movie lands her. She's playing any other woman, lands her an Academy Award nomination. She was a wreck in this movie. And it was tremendous.
And she was also a wreck without it being so exaggerated. She was.
It wasn't overwrought. It was so. No. It was a wreck. You saw the internal because it was a wreck. You saw the cracks in the armor. You saw it seeping out when she didn't want to seep it out. It wasn't gratuitous. And I was like, fucking. I mean, it was just powerful.
She was the straight man against the entire world, and you're seeing her become more human throughout the piece, and that's so. I loved it. I thought it was great. Like,
it was cool. Stranger. It was a cool stranger in a strange land, but she was a stranger in her own land and in the other land. She had no, place, and it was tremendous. I thought. Yeah.
Yep, agree completely. My number.
That's my number 5.
Good. Okay. Well, in no particular order. My number 5, and this is going to be again. I look at this list that I have. I've put them in the order I meant for them to be in. But I look at this list and are these like the best movies to come out in 2023? Probably not, but they're the ones that like I fucking enjoyed the most. And my number 5 is The Marvels. Look, it was hard to say between this and Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, because I love Chuck Woody's performance in Guardians 3. I love all the Guardians movies. But watching The Marvels in theater might have been the most fun I had in a theater all year because it was just so entertaining. And Mon Villani is so fucking charming. And it felt more like a comic book, an actual comic book, than any other comic book movie I've seen, maybe ever. Like, it felt like a single issue. You know what I mean? And I love that director, Nia DaCosta. I think she just does something for me. I liked everything I saw. Plus, the Flurkins are fucking incredible. Everything about that scene, that sequence, it's worthy of it for me. So
It's super fun. It's
Super
super fun.
I got to tell you,
Absolutely.
I haven't seen it. Yeah, haven't seen it.
shock,
Uh,
big shock.
I don't think he said day one to that because he was like women
Women
are starring
ugh.
in it. So he's like,
Women,
forget
who's
that.
with me, fellas? Right? Am I serious? Women.
You were on Ryan Gosling's side the whole time, right? That's why it's only number 5 because Ryan Gosling lost.
Hey, I'm Knuff. I am Knuff, folks. That's all I'm
I like the way you made it sound like you were Canadian. So, like I'm enough. Enough.
Knuff.
All right, Chad, what's your number 4?
My number 4 is Across the Spider-Verse.
Yeah.
I am a huge fan of Lord and Miller. Just about anything they do, big fan. Their animation always kills it. They're so fun, so clever, so funny. And again, it's animation like the other Spider-Verse film, but it's not like a lot of animation that you see. So it's just a great story. I love seeing all the different, there was a lot of different Spider-Men in the other one. This, multiply that by 10,000, like you said. I mean, it's incredible, like what they do. And Sandberg it's so funny as Scarlet Spider. Yeah, just a lot of fun. And it's just a great continuation of the Spider-Verse story.
Absolutely. Rob, what about you for number 4?
Spider-Verse is the worst movie I've never seen. I've never seen it. I
He
will
hasn't
see it
seen.
soon.
I wonder. Just let's take a bet. Okay, so we each have 5 movies. How many of our movies do you think Rob will have seen?
Well, I've only seen 3, so my list I double up twice.
I think he will have seen.
You're gonna hear Barbie again at 2.
I think he will have seen 2 of my 5 movies. How many of yours do you think he will?
Same, 2. It's not a think. I know. Now that I know he didn't see Spider-Verse or Iron Claw, yeah, it's 2. Like,
I'm going to say, well, 4 is we've already talked about it. The Creator. We talked about that before.
Yeah.
We gave it all, and for all those same reasons. I mean, I thought it was tremendous.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's great. It's a fantastic movie. My number 4 is going to be When Evil Lurks. I already talked about this a little bit on our Not Quite Darkness podcast as my favorite horror movie of the year. It is an Argentinian film. It is fucking terrifying. With
awesome.
all of this lore behind it that is just so compelling, so dark, so nihilistic. If you want to watch a movie that makes you feel better about the world, don't watch this one because it's going to fuck you up. And I can't recommend it enough. So it's just a great film. Go ahead, Chad. What's your number 3?
It's funny, that was your spoiler number 1 horror movie of the year. My number 3 is my number 1 horror movie of the year, Godzilla Minus One.
Yeah.
Huge fan of this. It is, as I said on the sister podcast, it is my favorite Godzilla film. And it is because of the characters. I never care about the characters, and I cared so much about the characters that, you literally don't want them to die. Like, you're like, I'm going to be so mad if these people die. Like, you love them so much. And then Godzilla shows up.
Yeah.
So, yeah, huge fan of Godzilla Minus One.
Rob, what about you for number 3?
Number 3, I have, and again, this is a combination of movies I thought were great, movies that I enjoyed. So I'm going to put Oppenheimer at 3.
Good.
It's I think technically it's probably better than, stronger than anything else on my list, but well, maybe not. It depends how you put them. What just an absolute visionary Nolan is. Taking material that could be, I think somebody might look at this and go, how the fuck nobody wants to watch this shit. It's drab, it's dreary, it's miserable. And turning it into just this fascinating, brilliantly told billion-dollar marvel. I was riveted the whole time. Again, it's one of these things, when you can take a movie and you basically know the general points because it's history, it's real history, and you know where it's happening. You're still, on the edge of your seat because of the character work, getting to know the people who were pushing the buttons and who were involved. And then you realize, oh shit, these people have real lives and they're a mess, and what they have to go through, and they got the obstacles they have to overcome, be the obstacles external or internal. And you're like, okay, just from moment to moment, everybody in there just doing their just best work. Yeah. He just brings the A game out of it. Fucking everybody,
Absolutely.
And, again, Downey's great. He made Downey greater.
Yeah.
It's just, Emily Blunt is great. This is the first time she ever got an Academy Award nomination, which is hard to believe. But he just puts great actors in great positions to do great work, I think. And again, that being said, he just tells things in such a way visually, it's visually stunning.
I think it's also, it's being called to the big leagues, when you're an actor and you have to go work for him. And he's such a master of what he does and has proven that it doesn't matter what genre, it doesn't matter what the budget is. He's going to make his movies and they're going to feel like Nolan films. And he's going to use, one of the things I love about him is that he utilizes tools across the board. I just saw a short about how they do the beginning with all the particle effects, and it's just a small camera about that big that they put in a bowl and they spray dust in it. That's all it is, and it looks so captivating on camera, right? And it's that mixed with that cheap ass trick mixed with $1 million fucking cameras, and like he's just a master. He is Oppenheimer to a degree. He's just that genius that doing something so brilliant but also deadly, and also to make a film about the person that's probably impacted human life more than anyone else in history by exposing us to God knows what, Yeah, I agree. Incredible movie. Incredible film. I didn't pick it. My number 3 instead is
I didn't pick that piece of shit.
Yeah, fuck that.
Good talk though.
Shit was like 4 hours, man, bruh. No. My number 3 is also like 4 hours. And that is Killers of the Flower Moon. Look, I should just say Martin Scorsese, and then I should just walk away because that's all I need to say. Look, I know the man is 197 years old, and I didn't like The Irishman. I'll say it. Yeah. This is a return to form. Like, and it's such a my stomach was in knots the entire time watching this movie. I hated the characters, and you still got me watching every single moment that was happening, and you're still pulling off camera tricks and storytelling tricks. I love when a movie can break the medium of film in a way that advances the story for me, and the resolution of this movie does just that. When Martin Scorsese himself shows up in the fucking movie, I loved it. It felt so inventive. I really want to see Ava DuVernay's origin because I feel like it probably does similar things. And Lily Gladstone brings to life this heartbreaking story in the most soul-crushing way to be well-deserved the first Indigenous woman ever nominated for an Oscar. Fucking great job. So yeah, I loved it. I'm a huge Scorsese fan just in general. Dug the shit out of this. Chad, what do you got for number 2?
My number 2 is Oppenheimer. So very similar, to what Rob said. It's amazing cast. Christopher Nolan is a top tier director, if not the top director working today. It's just, there's not a missed beat in this film. It is so good. And even after, again, it's Oppenheimer, even after the bomb happens, there's like 45 minutes left. And I'm thinking, like, what are they going to do now? It gets even better. It's just like, now it's like a taut, courtroom. Like, what is going to happen? It was so good. Huge fan of this film. It will probably win Best Picture, and deservedly so.
Rob, what you got for your number 2?
This was it was a coin toss for me. I'm going to put number 2. I'm still wavering between the two of these, which one I thought is more of, shit, they're both so different. Number 2 is Holdovers. Really just snuck up on me. I wasn't even in the mood to go see it. I knew, like, Alexander Payne, Dynamite director, fan of most of his stuff. Paul Giamatti, everybody in it's it's great. I was like, ugh. And just literally from the first frame, you're literally transported. And it's not even like he set out to do necessarily a period piece, but he shot it in a way that really just literally, I felt transported to a different place, a different time, and literally, I felt like the temperature in the room dropped. I mean, just it's this cold winter thing, and it just sucks you into this guy's world and this dreariness and this, and you see his backstory before you even hear his backstory, and you know what his life. It's and just a cast of riches. Davine Joy Randolph will win the best supporting actor. I mean,
She's
there's not.
awesome. She is awesome in
She
this
is
movie.
and the first time I saw her was on
Murders.
Murders in the Building, and she's hysterical. I was like, "Who is this? I've never seen her before. She's amazing." And then bam, bam, bam. Um, um, again, just wonderfully told and very simple. I mean, impossible. A good filmmaking doesn't throw it in your face, and it's one of these. He makes it look easy. He literally made this movie where you sit there and go, "Could have shot this," and you can't. It's so good, and it's so well edited and told, and everything's so precise. Every camera move and every framing is just it just makes you feel exactly what they're going through. And it's funny, everybody's been raving about the performance of the young kid in it because it's his first movie. And again, he's fine. He's fine. And I thought he was overcooking it just a little bit. But everybody else, down to this, have you guys seen The Holdovers? Who's seen it? Who hasn't?
Yeah, I've seen it.
Like,
it's excellent.
I mean, I think the woman who works at the school who you think has a crush on him is phenomenal. The girl who plays her niece at the party, who the young guy has the scene with, is phenomenal. I mean, it pulls you through this wonderful Christmas movie. And it's not just a Christmas movie, but it just screams of the time. That I will watch that movie once a year for the rest of my life. I just thought it was great.
I'm dying to see it.
Giamatti may win the best actor. I mean, it's been on an upswing, and if he does, you know what? Yeah, fucking great.
I'm dying to see it. Mostly, I love Giamatti. I was watching one of those roundtables where he's talking about how the director came to him and he's like, "I wrote this with you in mind." Giamatti's like, "Yeah, let me know more." And he's like, "Yeah, so this guy smells like fish." And Giamatti's like, "Okay." So, and I love that. I can't wait to watch it. I just again haven't because I've been too busy watching.
On Peacock, I think it's on Peacock right now.
Oh well, then I'll check it out soon.
It's definitely one of the streamers, Paramount Plus or Peacock, one or the other for sure.
Cool. I'll have to check that out then. Yeah, I hear nothing but great things. But I was too busy watching my number 2 and number 1 900 times because I was in love with them. My number 2, already mentioned so far on this list, Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. Look, it is just stunning. Look, it's I wanted to be artsy and like Rob and say, "Oh, I like these artistic movies." He doesn't mean any of that. He didn't even watch The Holdovers. He thought it was a movie about food left over in the fridge. I was like, "No, that's leftovers, Rob." And so anyway, Spider-Man, at the end of the day, I'm a nerd and I like stunning, nerdy things. And Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse was stunning and it was nerdy and it was a great story. Miles Morales has really come into his own character. Look, Peter Parker was my Spider-Man. That's who I grew up with. And so as a fan, it's sort of hard to see other characters become legacy characters and not feel that they're living in the shadow. Miles Morales is no longer in the shadow of Peter Parker.
I agree 100%.
And these movies are in part to thank for that, right? Because they are so well executed. Pay your animators, give them more time, but still so well executed, fantastic films. I love it. And that
I can't wait till Sony fucks up the casting.
Yeah, absolutely. But that Tom Holland's also going to be playing Miles Morales. No. So that takes us to our number 1. Chad, what you got for your number 1 movie of 2023?
My number 1 was really just the most fun in the theater that I had all year, and that is Barbie. I loved Barbie. It was just so much fun, so good. You have with Ryan Gosling's performance. I'd said it when I watched it the first time. I thought it's his best performance ever. You could not easily. You could say that about Margot Robbie as well. Like they both are giving like excellent performances. Greta Gerwig, the script, the direction, it's top notch. It's so so clever, and it is so much better than it has a right to be.
Absolutely.
It's similar to the Lego movie in that regard, that like, how is this movie this good? It's a freaking Barbie movie, and it is awesome. I love it from start to finish. And I recently rewatched it, and I gotta say, for comedic effect, the unsung hero of this movie is Michael Cera. I belly laugh at the stuff
So
he's doing in this
goddamn
movie.
funny.
It is so funny. He is awesome in every single frame. I mean, it just is so funny. I just love Michael Cera in this movie. It's a great movie. Again, like, is it the best movie of the year? Is the best experience I had at a theater? I loved it.
It's I cannot wait till there's a Criterion Collection edition of Barbie, because that's going to happen, because it is so fucking good of a movie. That and not even just the visuals of her occupying that space when she's talking to her creator. That's mesmerizing. That's beautiful. And match that with such good belly laugh jokes like Ryan Gosling playing Matchbox 20 and all the Kens playing the same song. Fucking hilarious. And it's just such a smart, intelligent, well-crafted masterpiece. I didn't pick it either. Rob, what do you have for your number one?
Number one, which to me was my most fun I had in the theater all year, was damaged by Barbenheimer and by putting a part 1 on its name, which was Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1, was awesome. I had an absolute fucking blast. Cruise was everybody in this movie looked like they were having a goddamn blast. Haley Atwell, what a great addition to this. I love her, Rebecca Ferguson, Vanessa Kirby, Palm Clementif, and everybody else in it. Everybody's come back for more. Ving Rhames, all gang. It's just, the story's an absolute blast. The effects are, and the one they raved about, the motorcycle jump over. That's like of all the stunts in it. That's like the. Yeah. I mean, there is so much, and there's a great sense of humor in this one. It's just it's a blast. I don't know. I mean, I don't know how they're retooling part 2. I know they're not going to call it part 2, but I'm looking forward to part 2, Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning.
Yeah.
Right.
I have not seen that, so I can't comment on that at
It's
all.
very good.
Yeah, I hear. My number one. You know, it's interesting you say that Haley Atwell and everybody looks like they're having fun, because that's a huge thing about why my number one is my number one. I think as performers, especially when we're watching other performers, we can tell, oh, they're doing whatever this is that they're doing. This is a good day at work. You know what I mean? And I felt that way from beginning to end watching my number one, something we've already mentioned, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem. Look, I am a huge Turtles fan. I make no qualms about it. I look like a turtle. That was literally the first words my mother said to me when I was born. Oh my God, he looks like a turtle. So I've just carried it with me for the rest of my life. This movie had such good energy, had such fun baked into not only the illustrations, but the performances. Actually getting fucking teenagers to play the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I love the villains. I love the care and the love that was made, you know, into this movie. Everything about it. The soundtrack was great. There's a reference to fucking Old Boy in the middle of this movie, shot for shot. I'm just here for everything about it. I literally own 2 different copies of it. I love it. Love it. It was my favorite movie of the year. So
I'll get those back to you soon.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
Before you move on, Keith, my daughter did her top 5, so I'm just going to run down that real quick. She wanted
Go for it.
everybody to know
Here.
So, number 5 is The Holdovers. So good job, Rob. Number 4, none of us have seen Anatomy of a Fall. I know it's not.
Can't wait to. Yeah, I want to see something.
Loves it. Number 3, Iron Claw. Number 2, Spider-Verse, and her number 1 was Barbie as well.
I like the way that your daughter's list was more adult than any of ours. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like she's an actual film critic, and we're like, I saw Paw Patrol 4 times, and like, and she's like, the French exposition used within Anatomy of a Fall.
My mommy called me a turtle.
Yeah,
but she's big on. She tries to watch everything that's nominated, or even a whiff of it's going to be nominated for an Oscar. So she's watched it all.
Why the fuck do we do this podcast and not her? Like, honestly, it's ridiculous. Yeah, because that's what the world needs. More white guys saying their opinions about movies. The fuck. Anyway.
I said, Maggie, would you put as number one?
White
Barbie?
man
Okay,
first.
that's what I'm going to do. I'm doing Barbie because that's what you said. Perfect.
You're just copying the list. I bet like Iron Claw's even on there because she's like, yeah, Dad, I'll put it on there. Fine.
Exactly. I mean, I guess since you like wrestling. Okay.
It was some like Iranian art house film before that.
We'll toe the family line and like it, darling.
Yeah, but that's great. That's all I got for everybody. Chad, where can the people find you?
Twitter, X, Instagram, NQC podcast.
And Rob, aging surfer like Santa Claus, man who looks like he's hiding. You look like you've gone through a really bad divorce. That's what you look like. And you're trying to bounce back.
Or a really good one.
Well, maybe, probably not that one. But yeah, Rob, where can the people find you?
Twitter X at Rob Pralgo. Facebook, Pralgo's acting class. At the Artisan Resource Center, constantly plugging up leaks. And I'm right here playing with my dogs. Hey.
I didn't think he was going to say dogs.
Me either, but thank you for saying it that way, Captain
Hey, with
Ron.
the
I really
dog.
appreciate it. So, and if you're looking for me, don't. We will see you guys next
Get
time.
you ready for my hot date.
Peace.
Later.
Not Quite Cool is a podcast recorded in Atlanta, Georgia, in conjunction with Actors Teaching Actors and Bean Dip Productions.